All right. So here's more evidence. What do you mean more evidence? Well, physics is evidence of what you want to prove as an intention and outcome and measuring a specific measurable result. And what is a specific measurable result? When the outcome is the intention, the outcome of sweating, the outcome of immune system activation, the outcome of aggressive aging process, that there's so much consistent evidence to show kids maturing faster, people graying sooner, people aging faster, people getting diagnosable conditions earlier than what they would have expected. The time has been accelerated. I already proved that. The time is all based on gravity and entropy, how fast things decay, and time is all relative. Time can be compressed, time can be expanded and contracted. Time is just all relative to how you measure time. I mean, you can use a clock, you can use a person, you can use plant material, and it's all based upon gravity. The gravitation, it's all based upon motion, laws of motion. Time is motion, time is physics, time is how fast something, the rate of entropy. Oh, yeah, because when you look at somebody and you're like, oh, if time has been so consistent that people age relatively consistent, then you'd be like, okay, that person's like 25, that person's like 30, that person's like 50, okay? But now you can't even tell who people are. You can't tell between the generations anymore because time has accelerated. Even the Gen Zers, which I've shown you on my Facebook, that some Gen Zers look like baby boomers because they're graying prematurely. And so, yeah, the sun is freaking deadly right now. Oh, how is that? Well, the chemtrail activists have been telling us, well, I was part of the chemtrail activists a long time ago, but they were coming from the standpoint that the chemtrails are poison. Okay, so the EPA, all right, the Environmental Protection Agency, will test parts per million in the vapors, in the mist, in the air, and sometimes they get it wrong, whatever, okay, and that's something I can't argue with because you know how stuff happens. People become more intolerant faster, which means then the science has to change. Oh, well, before they had more tolerance to this much parts per million of pollutants, whatever they are, but now in this environment, now with climate change and with all these different things that are going on, people are less tolerant to this many parts per million of whatever is in the air and the food and the water. So then science has to change. And that's the world that you live in, that science can always change based upon the narrative, based upon even physiological tolerances and intolerances. And so you don't know when people knew something and you don't know what people knew and when they knew it. That's always going to be the loophole when it comes to measuring intention. If you can't prove someone knew something way early on and they could have stopped it, if you can't prove that, then you have no fucking case. If you think there was a nefarious intention to actually poison the population, then you'd have to prove when someone knew something, what they knew and when they knew it. And if you can't prove that, then you have no case. So then you have to look at, okay, you got to look at, they've been telling us in other areas, we're in climate change. The chemtrail activists a long time ago, myself included, were showing people lines in the sky. Well, it's only water vapor. It's pretty much safe, parts per million. It's not poison, and it's true, it's not poison. But what is the actual water vapor and other particulates in the sky doing? It's reflecting light, either away from Earth, so it gets colder over here, or towards Earth, so it's hotter over here. So then you have that whole positive and negative. So you have California getting colder, Ohio getting hotter, and then even some areas are getting that reflective away from, so it's getting colder over here, and then some area over here is getting hotter. So then you have the two storms like you saw yesterday. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But if you looked at the map, the weather map, and you saw there was tornadoes that were projected in my area in the north, and then there was tornadoes projected in the south. There's some kind of influence somewhere, a positive, negative, caused then that even the tornadoes to go through a path over there in the northeast. Okay, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, projected to be, even in my area, but it moved away. And then of course Florida, which is so volatile right now. If I was in Florida, I would have been out of Florida last year, 2 years ago. When I saw the writing on the wall that it was a ramping up of the storms, the hurricanes, and the tornadoes, and the water's heating up, and the system's been telling everybody, the water's heating up in Florida, there's going to be a Cat 6, most likely hurricane, I would have been out of Florida probably 2 years ago. And if we weren't in Florida, let's say we were in Lake City, which we were a couple years ago, like 10 years ago, give or take, I would have been freaking the hell out. I would have been finding a way the hell out of Florida. I am so glad we got out of Florida when we did. That was by the skin of our teeth, and it was my husband's family that got us out of Florida. And so even though we probably don't super get along, and I'm okay with that, I get it. I'm very different, and people don't understand me, and I get it. But it was my husband's family that saved our ass. So I have to hand it to my husband's family up here, who I know we don't talk, and that's fine. I still respect them. I have no issue with them, but they saved our asses. So I have to thank my husband's family for getting us out of Florida, giving us a place to stay for a little less than a year. And we were going through some stuff, then we finally had to separate, and that's fine, shit happens. And then we got on our own and is doing things on our own. But I'll tell you, we got out by the skin of our fucking teeth out of Florida. Anyone in Florida right now is a sitting duck. A sitting flipping duck. And so yeah, the sun is amplified to such an extent that, it's not a nice, bright, shiny yellow. Really, it's, like a blue and a silvery. It's a very different, it's very different brightness, even through the clouds. Yesterday when the storm was coming through and it was raining like super hard, exponentially hard, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I could feel my heart beating so fast, like it was on some accelerated battery. So to the point where I had to actually go to sleep for at least an hour to just to calm down myself and my heart and just deal with it. Because when I'm sleeping, then other immunological responses happen that help with that assimilation process. And of course, I had a bunch of food. Right afterwards, I had some of that soup that I made for the apocalypse from a Monday. I ate some of that soup with the chicken. I had a bunch of noodles in it. And because I only had was leftovers from the night before. And that was it. And so I made sure I had that soup with the cabbage, the salt, the chicken, the carrots, the noodles. And I had to feed for that situation. But the idea birthed as far as blacking out my office, blacking out my bedroom, blacking out areas, especially during the apocalypse on that Monday, that mass ritual of people just staring at the freaking sky, staring at the flipping sun, and in an environment that has amplified particles. See, it's not even just looking at the sun through these little glasses, but you're looking through amplified particles. They got everybody out in the sun, in the elements, and maybe even through that path of totality, even more aggressive. Because maybe some areas don't get as aggressive ULF and other areas, but when you come over here to the Northeast, all the way from Mexico, all the way through Texas, through Oklahoma, Arkansas, and all the way up to Ohio, up to Maine, up to Newfoundland, Canada. And you get all these people coming out there, sitting in the environment that they don't ordinarily do. Maybe some people stay inside because maybe they're sick, maybe they have issues, but like, oh God, this is a great event, a mass ritual, a great event to go and stare at the fucking sky amidst all that reflective particles that not reflecting away, but reflecting towards the people. And there's other weird sounds in the background that they warned us about. Holy shit. And it was so it was so hazy out that day on that Monday. And that's why I was just so feverishly filling the water in the tub thinking that we're going to have lights out or communication issues. You know, I mean, I'm preparing for everything. And I'm taking towels and putting them over the windows, you know, just like in the Lost Boys, and they're boarding up the house, you know, the windows of the house, because they know the vampire's going to come and get them. And I'm just knowing that the light, whatever's going on that day, whether the infrasound, the light, whatever, was going to be even more exponential. And then birth from that, even though we didn't have the apocalypse like we expected, what's apocalyptic? Retinal damage, which makes sense why I felt like I was going blind when I went to that DMV appointment, because it was pretty aggressive. I was bloated that day. There was frequencies going on. I don't know where the hell they came from, but it was the sun. The sun was blinding my eyes. The sun was causing retinal damage. And when I was in the shower a week before my husband went, or a day before my husband went to go on his vacation, to go to South Carolina, North Carolina, or wherever the hell he went to. And I was in the shower in here, and the picture window was refracting so much light, and I was seeing stars and little filaments, which is telling me that the retina is detaching itself. There was retina damage that I was experiencing in the shower with that picture window. And I didn't really know that. And I Googled, like, you know, black filaments, floaters. Okay. I was Googling seeing stars, and I wasn't feeling any pain, but remember, you don't have pain receptors behind your eyes. So you have no idea what kind of damage you're doing when you're out there, much less staring at the freaking sky, but you have no idea what kind of damage you're doing to your eyes when you're at the beach, when you're on the water, when you're skiing. I don't care what kind of protective glasses you have, but you have no idea what kind of damage you're doing to your eyes when the kids are going out there in this environment. People are shoving their kids outdoors. Saying, oh, get off the tablet, Johnny, Billy, Susie. You can't be addicted to the internet, so you got to be outdoors in this aggressive environment with the blinding light basically burning their retinas, and they can't feel it because there's no pain receptors. And then kids have to wear glasses at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, and potentially even go blind, as their lifestyle hasn't changed because mommy hasn't changed, grandma hasn't changed, daddy hasn't changed. They all think they're in the old world when you're not. You're in a very aggressive, very amplified environment. And so then when I went to Walmart, after taking that shower, and I'm seeing stars and all these different floaters, and I'm just like, God damn, I can see how people have a religious experience and think, oh God, I saw Jesus. Because they're seeing stars, they're seeing floaters, the light is blinding them so much, and they're having these hormonal reactions that they're thinking, like, you know, that's the second coming of Christ in their world, and then they have a religious experience, and they're off going into their religion or doing some kind of energy healing shit, and there goes another freaking religion. But then after that, when I went to the Walmart, and I was just fucking flipped out of my mind. Not only I was hot and sweating because I didn't want to wear a bra, so I wore 2 different jackets. It was 37 degrees out, but I was freaking starving, sweating, and I was starving too, yes, because we hadn't eaten that day or eaten that morning, and I wanted to take care of the stuff before he went, because the things I had to do, and he was all, you know, geeked out about trying to get his stuff done so he can go off to his vacation. And he's been planning it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So he's all excited. And I'm just like, fuck, I need food. I need this. I need that. And so, you know, it was just such a bad experience. Like the worst fucking experience. And that was, sure, the frequency levels, the sun was so amplified through the hazy. That's why I'm saying, okay, if you can figure out the physics, what's going on with this sun. You see all these chemtrail activists are like, oh God, you're taking away our sun. Bullshit. The sun's going to be even worse. Clouds are pretty bad because you can't really, it's under a false sense of security. You think that the clouds are blocking the sun. No, the clouds are amplified. They're not only hydrogen fuel cells with energy, but you don't know how that light is being reflected. And so if it's cold out, then the sun is being reflected away, and then people in California who are yoga artists and queens and kings and gluten-free everything and salt-free everything and sugar-free everything, and their skin and bones and lips and hair and all that shit, and it's getting cold, and they don't have the adipose tissue and the fat and the muscle and anything else, they'll be freezing their asses off, turning the heaters on in their houses. And they can't really be outside. They want to be outside, but they really can't be, and they can't handle the cold. And so it's like going back into, it's like going to New York and California. At some point, that might even actually happen. They might have snow in certain times of the year. Well, at the lower elevations versus the higher elevations. Anything's possible. We're in climate change. Okay? And so then here in Ohio, since being here since 2014, like continuously since 2014, and it was, in October, the snow was like up to here and all that, but actually I was here in 2010 for a minute when I first met my husband, and there was a bunch of snow in October, but then we left and traveled the US for a bit, and then came back here continuously since 2014, and the snow was like up to here. It was Thanksgiving, and it was like, okay, it was cold in the winter and hot in the summer, a little bit of spring, a little bit of respite. It was pretty predictable. But now it feels like it's California. It's like California weather. Okay? And the storm, I'm telling you, the rain on the Tuesday after that mass ritual, it was raining so hard. More than I ever heard. It was an aggressive, it was torrential downpours. More than I've heard it in who knows how long. And that's the kind of shit that I see in the movies where it's raining so hard and lightning and thunder and everything else. And yeah, I didn't see any lightning yesterday. But there was thunder. Oh yeah, there was lightning a couple days ago on Tuesday. But yesterday it was only a drizzle, not drizzle, but it was a bunch of rain, yes. And it's supposed to rain all the way up till the end of today. Today's Friday. And so, yeah, the climate's going to be even more aggressive. And so I would encourage the chemtrail activists just to stay the fuck indoors. You can't stop what's here. But these chemtrail activists are out there in the environment, taking in this crazy ass, reflective light that is so amplified. And of course, they have intolerance to air, food, and water and everything else. And causing more deterioration by just going outside all the time, being out there in that. And that's the thing. Even the sun is not friendly to you. The clouds are not friendly to you. The mist is not friendly to you. Even the rain is not friendly to you. None of that shit's friendly right now. And and relative to where you are in the J world, as far as you're releasing the demons and stuff, okay? When I was the last 3 years, it was a major religious experience the last 3 years. Why? Because the sun was more amplified, the ULF was more amplified, the storms were becoming amplified. The pandemic is based on climate change, based upon the storms. And so there's a lot of demons within that came through the internet, like through my behaviors and reactions to whatever, and then dealing with my dog. And then also whatever traumas I held inside, whatever awakenings I finally faced. And then also all the mycoplasma, the opposing forces that I developed from all the different remedies, from all the different, prescription drugs, from all the different diversity that I surrounded myself with. Not only with my dog, but then everyone I've ever came in contact with. Whether it's, intimately or superficially, or just walking into a room of crowded people and the ectoplasm is so thick that you're taking on people's demons. All of that came to surface like a monster moving within. And it came out in headaches. It came out in rashes. It came out in arm pain. I noticed yesterday one of the influencers in the weather world, and he's a lay influencer, and he's a young kid that made himself to be famous since 2014. Okay. I've been following him since 2014. But he had to go to the doctor for arm pain because, your lymphatic system, through the aggressive energy yesterday, there's growth that happens through your lymphatic system. And when your lymphatic system is pushing the antigen antibody programming, all that rubbery calamari crap that people are finding, those blood clots, pushing that stuff through the system, through your lymphatic system, your arms are going to hurt. Some people's arms go frozen. Some people, have not only arm pain, but they're getting shoulder pain, back pain. So they're getting surgeries. They're getting their lymph nodes removed because that's what's giving them pain. So then what happens? There's no lymphatic system working for them. So all that calamari that people are finding, all those blood clots get stuck in the system, turn into some kind of entity that balloons itself 2, 3 times its size, and that's where you get the heart attacks and strokes. Because not only does a person is maybe morbidly abundant, or they could be morbidly emaciated, but they are not allowing their immune system to release. They're taking all the latest remedies that not only vasoconstrict their intestines or blood vessels and everything else, but also that exponential growth is going to tax the lining, the blood vessels, and then cause potential breakage. And yeah, aneurysm, strokes, died suddenly, whatever. And so then people take the vasodilators because they're like, oh, I gotta release something. So they're taking all these different laxatives, right? To force open their intestines, to force open their blood vessels, to force open things. That's therapy, therapy, forcing the body to do things it was not conditioned to do, thus further weakening their blood vessels, their arteries, their capillaries, their intestines. And then there's breakage. There's bowel perforations, there's intestinal perforations, there is blockages. I mean, people are a fucking mess. And so when I was feeling the heat, when I didn't have my windows blacked out, I'd wake up sweating. I'd wake up almost choking on my own mucus. I'd wake up feeling like, oh my God, like drunk with hormones because the heat is causing so much hormonal disturbances. And I'd wake up and have to go take a poop, go do this, go do that. But when I finally blacked out my curtains, since Monday, I've been sleeping better. I mean, I did have a change in my sleeping patterns where I would fall asleep so consistently and so deeply right off the bat. And it would be just like clockwork. And I've never had that kind of experience before falling asleep. Usually, it would take me a while to fall asleep. But now I can catch myself snoring. To the point where my husband's like, oh my God, the way you snore, Jillian, it's crazy. Well, yeah. Not only is my circadian rhythms on point, but even my exposure to my husband and anyone else in any other diverse environment is causing the immune system replication, causing growth that my body has to deal with, the mucus. And so it is strong enough to deal with whatever mucus grows during the time that I'm sleeping and then push it through the system to all the different prospective places so it can be released, either the armpits, through wherever. Occasionally I'll get hives, but not the last couple days, not hardly anything. When I wake up, even despite all this aggressive energy, I'll wake up and it's complete darkness, like 0 degrees. I can see a little bit of light, a little bit through the window panes. And we're gonna get curtains, and I'm gonna get glasses, like sunglasses, and with my prescription. But I do see a change in my vision when I actually, it's not as blurry as it was. When I'm looking at my screen, like the Netflix, I'm reading the episode, what is it, season 5, episode 6, before I'd be like so blurry. Now that I've given my eyes a rest and allowed to regenerate, and I blacked out everything, I don't go out very often if I do, but now if I go out, I should be wearing sunglasses and all that stuff, which that's what I'm going to be doing. But it's not as double vision. But before, when I was at the DMV a couple weeks ago, man, it was like double vision. And so that is and that's the thing, you can get your eyesight back, but you have to give your eyes a rest. And people don't. They're out there. They don't understand how deadly the sun is. Not only does it cause cancer and chronic illness now because of the accelerated particles, but that sun also does retina damage. And it's worse when you are on the boat. It's worse when you're on the water. It's worse when you're out there with people, no matter what kind of season that you're in. It's worse when you're hanging out with friends and family on the deck just staring at each other. Even when you're under shade, it's pretty deadly. It's like, literally you got to be in darkness. It's like being a cave dweller. These are the choices that people are being given. You don't have to be out there. You don't have to be gallivanting with everyone, showing everybody that you have a great social life on the water or... Well, I mean, I get my husband, he has to because that's what he was raised with, and he's not the type of person to really change, and he works his ass off. He doesn't have to work as hard, but he chooses to because he wants his toys. He wants his social capital. Okay, I'm not getting in the way of that. If you're bringing in the bacon and I don't spend too much, I really don't. But I have to find things to make sure that I don't freaking die from his lifestyle. Then I don't care what he does. Do whatever you got to do, honey. But at least you have the choice that you can scale down and get rid of things, get rid of expenses to where you don't have to work as hard. But people choose their life. They choose to be out there. They choose to be living that lifestyle. They're so addicted to the pleasure and paradise, the social capital, having to prove to people that they are successful, they are this, they are that. And I'm telling you, in this environment, with the sun the way it is, with the clouds the way they are, the way the storms are, those who understand my information from physics, from the physics standpoints of laws of motion, and how energy can be amplified, and then you understand through the haze of all the chemtrails. And though they're not poison, it's the light. We're in a Luciferian society. Luciferian. Not only have you seen all the truthers telling you their truth, religion and politics and science and whatever else, in the conspiracy world, but you're also getting amplified light that some people are actually going to supernova from. And it's causing behavioral responses, causing bad behaviors in people. It's causing people to supernova, do things that they normally would not do. I mean, even a lady who pushed her kid out on the 405 and harmed herself and whatever, caught up in the whole apocalypse stuff, she couldn't handle the whole apocalypse stuff. Even though I was saying, oh God, we are in the great purge. But it's not like what you see in the movies where everything is immediate, one after the other. Now you're seeing the great purge through died suddenly, through diagnosable conditions, through car accidents from the died suddenly, from damage to the eyes, mass ritual events that the system is getting everyone outside to go and look at something. People arguing whether or not the sun or moon and stars and the earth exist or not exist. I mean, really? What it comes down to is understanding the physics of what's going on, whether or not the sun exists or not. It doesn't even matter at this point. The sun is there. It causes photosynthesis. It causes chemical reactions. And then also the mediation between the sun and its receiver, the earth and the people and the plants and the animals. Who is manipulating the middle? Like a go-between. You got to think about like with therapy and with divorce and all the different marriages and all that. You have the pastor, the therapist, all the different government agencies are mediators in between birth and death. What are they doing between birth and death that causes then the eventual death? Well, when you think about the sun, it's out there however many miles away, and then the earth, and then all the different things that happen between the sun and the earth. And we know chemtrail activists have been out there as the one like, oh my God, it's poison. It's not poison, but it's the reflective outcome, the reflective energy that's what's causing things to be more amplified. Which means, do you really want to be out there all the time? Do you seriously want to make your living being out there all the time, causing retina damage, causing oxidation in your body, mind, and spirit? Maybe you should be wearing sunglasses. Maybe you should only do your job for whatever hours a day and then be home in the darkness recouping resources, blacking out everything, lessening your accountability to people. But if you've made children and you have to take care of your children, you're going to have to figure that one out. I gotta pee. Hold on. And so, yeah, no matter what, California, Florida, any of the southern states, that light is amplified, even in the northern part, okay? And those that are in the areas where you get a lot of snow, yeah, even the snow is amplified. And even more so with the light, because then all the light reflecting off the snow is going to cause even more burning and whatever else, retina damage and all that. And so what's your only recourse? Stay home, stay safe. I don't say you have to wear a mask. Black out your windows. But buying houses with all these huge windows, like I'm watching in Sex and the City, I finally watched all the seasons in 2 weeks. And the rich with all their huge bay windows, letting all the sun in, they're getting cooked. Like literally getting cooked. And so, no, I'm not impressed with those that are beachgoers, those that have big houses with big windows. You're getting cooked. Those that live on their patio all the time around people with so much of that sun energy, those are gallivanting all over the place showing you, hey, look, I'm in the sun, I'm doing this. You're getting cooked. The retina damage, the oxidation of your cell, everything. It's amplified. It's not what it used to be. And so, but that's what people want to age out, fine. If people want to contract cancer, disease, and chronic illness earlier and earlier and age aggressively, fine. Then you have no room to blame the V's, because the VACCINESs, when they're not in an amplified environment, they're just like another person. Just like back in the 1960s when people can hang out together and be on payphones and talk in payphones. Or even in the 2000s, seeing Carrie Bradshaw on the Sex and the City on a payphone. I'm like, oh my God, people now be like, oh my gosh, you're on a payphone. You're getting germs from that speaker. But yeah, believe me, it's not the same. The environment is not the same. And so yeah, I would be at home. I would not be out there. I know people have to do their gardens, but even then, people are now in Indiana saying their gardens are flooded out. Right now, there's puddles of water in my backyard. There's puddles of water in my front yard. Oh. The system is not going to let you try to be self-sufficient as far as gardening. They want you inside because they're redefining the terrain. Literally, they're redefining the terrain. And it took me a minute to figure this stuff out. But you can't be blaming the VACCINESs because in an amplified environment and particle acceleration and all the sun and the mist and everything else that's going on, people already hold crazy cancer, disease, and chronic illness within their immune system. It just hasn't been triggered yet. But just wait. When you're out there gallivanting and you're out there showing everybody how great you are doing whatever you're doing and you trigger that monster to wake up. Yes, you have a place to go. You can blame the V's, you can blame GMO, you can blame everything you want. But you'll never look at what the physics behind what's going on during this climate change. And the system told us we're in climate change. It is climate change. The sun is not your friend. The clouds are not your friend. Your outdoors lifestyle right now at this point is not your fucking friend. But you can't tell people that. You cannot tell them that. They will not change. They will resist any kind of information. And so the system goes like, yeah, whatever, fine. And you can't say anything. That's why they censor people, because you are mischaracterizing what's going on. Just like when they say, just like right now, what is it? O.J. Simpson, he passed away. 7 and 6 is 13. He passed away at 76 from cancer. Okay? So he went through, so there was a murder, and it was the trial of the century. I remember when that happened. Actually, I was in the military when that happened. I was in Tyndall Air Force Base at the time doing an operation readiness type of exercise in Tyndall Air Force Base, actually in Florida. And they were showing the Bronco being chased by all the police. And people were like, oh my God. And that whole court case. And actually, even during that time, my boss, I was a nanny at the time, had a white Bronco. So I was driving a white Bronco in the 90s. The same that O.J. Simpson was driving. So he went through that whole situation, and then he wasn't found guilty. Because the court of law, it goes through a court of law, and if you're not found guilty, then you're not convicted. Should not be convicted. You shouldn't be convicted in the public opinion as a killer if a court of law says, and your peers say that you were not guilty. Okay? So, if the system goes through their FDA-approved processes and deems something is not poison, but they will say maybe now, maybe. No, they'll still blame the V's for people's cancers, but they'll never say anything about climate change. But if the system decides to convict the VACCINESs, fine. You have your scapegoat. But when I was watching that video yesterday, about that COVID, whatever, and you had all these doctors and all these different people now saying, oh gosh, maybe it's the V's. And they're talking about the blood clots that look like calamari. Yeah, that's from aggressive growth. Those are all the spirits in your immune system, the antigen antibody programming, the things that you come in contact with, animals, humans, any kind of biodiversity that gets stored in your immune system that's not being released. That's the cause of people's colds and flus and whatever else. When that goes through an energy conversion like climate change, heat and accelerated particles, and that growth is that exponential, all that antigen antibody programming then turns into like a person, like cancer, right? It's like these masses of flesh, immortalized germline cells. Yeah. But that was from the climate change. Okay? So before, the VACCINESs were not that bad, but as the system kept increasing the particle acceleration and all the climate change stuff, because they've been doing that ever since 18-something, geoengineering. That's why you saw all these different cancers, but it happened in older people. It didn't happen at such young ages, even at babies. Babies are contracting cancer now. Why is that? Because you're in climate change. And no one's doing anything different. They're taking their babies out there and hanging out in the middle of the day, right? They're not keeping their babies inside under the cover of darkness. No, even if they're inside, they have all the windows open. And so now with the V's, you'll have a scapegoat. You'll go through a court of law or some type of thing. You'll go through a whole FD, be like, oh, I guess we got to recall the V's. And you'll see that stuff go on, but it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter what they convict or not convict. It doesn't matter what you do or do not do. If you don't understand the world that you live in, called climate change, that you have to actually literally be in the cover of darkness and measure if it's appropriate to be out there with people and in this amplified environment. If you can't figure that out, it doesn't matter what you do, whether you get a V or not get a V. Because I'm even seeing the diacetic groups are like, well, I didn't get a V, but man, I'm feeling all these different ways. And people are like, oh yeah, it's all the shedding. Well, okay. That was my argument too for a while. Yeah, people do shed whatever it is in their immune system. It doesn't matter what it is. People pass around their microbes all the time. But it's the amplified environment is what's causing the acceleration and all the people's releasing their ectoplasm, the shedding, whatever else. It's the amplified environment. It's the clouds. It's the sun. It's the wind. It's the rain. It's everything. That's why yesterday I was feeling like such crazy heart tachycardia. But my heart is so strong because I don't try to resist it. Anytime you try to resist any kind of movement that your body makes because of climate change, you're going to weaken your blood vessels. You're going to weaken all the different vessels to then one day, when all the conditions are right, you'll have a die suddenly. Or you'll have such growth that happens and the body can't push that growth through, thus surviving a heart attack or a stroke. People die suddenly. That's what people are being set up for. And they don't even know it because they don't fucking care about information. All they care about is their pleasure, their paradise. Don't get in the way of my lifestyle, and you're stupid, Jillian, and you're entertaining, and you want to laugh at my information, fine. But I'll tell you, when you make a mistake, like going to that mass ritual, and now you fucked up your eyes by staring at the sky for that long, will you ever say, well, I fucked up here? Because the system said, don't be caught out there. The system said, don't be caught out there. But hey, if you want to look at the sky and be part of this whole, mass ritual of everyone blinding themselves, being out there in the environment, you chose to follow the masses. Maybe one day someone will be like, maybe I don't have to follow all the masses who are the asses. But again, you can't tell the people because they have to fit in. They have to fit in. Or they're so lonely that they couldn't possibly not even do anything on their own. So they have to join the masses. And when you're raised like that, because it is a type of training, you're being trained to follow the crowd. I was trained not to. But some people were trained to follow the crowd to the point to their own detriment. And then justify it. Oh, love, love, love. Oh, look here, look at me. Blah, blah, blah. And that's And I see now how training at a young age, a very an effective training at a young age, knowing what world the person is going to go into, will be the difference in someone's life and death, and strategy to survive a very changing world. And so, yeah. So that's why the system wants to redirect and control reproduction. Because what are these parents training their kids for, and to do what? It's too late for a lot of these parents with these kids. Their kids are already set in their ways. You can only watch the programming and realize itself. Some of these kids are so unemotional and so just matter of fact and so intolerant that one of these kids killed their parents. And even called up the police and said, hey, I killed my mom because she was pissing me off. That's how we have raised some of these children to be like that. Something clicked and they decided to kill their parent because their parent was pissing them off. That's why I'm saying, no matter which way you go with some of these kids, it's not going to matter what you do, because you might put yourself in danger, even holding them accountable or not holding. It's like not going to matter which way you're going to go. And that's why the system's like, don't have any more kids, because right now we are bearing children who have a fucking screw loose in their head and you don't know how it's going to get triggered. And so some of these parents, you just I hope you have what it takes. Because even then, when you let them do or not do it, whatever, you're risking a lot. But then now you're tied to them for the rest of your life. And some of these kids have a screw loose. And they can be very deadly to not only themselves, but to their family and to the world around them. Anyone that crosses them. And that's fucking scary. That's super scary, especially in this environment. That's why the system's doing what it's doing. Because we have bred so many unpredictable children, unpredictable adults, who can't listen to any new information, cannot be challenged in any way possible. And if you do challenge them, then they might come after you if you are that emotionally involved with them. Like literally emotionally involved with them, if you're related to them. And that's a scary thing. That's a very fucking scary thing. So that's why I don't tell anyone what to do as far as symptoms. People ask me questions like, oh, I got your book, or I got this. You know, you think parasites will be killed by the... No. The jelly juice does not kill anything. It freezes things in the body called being cured, called constipation, or it'll help people release and activate their immune system, of which are you prepared to have those little calamari things being pushed through? You might have a heart attack or a stroke. Do you have what it takes to deal with a heart attack or stroke? Are you prepared for a heart attack or a stroke? Activating your immune system. For some areas of the country, you know, they get stuff, but maybe they don't get as much ULF. Places in Mexico. Right, you know, it's unpredictable places in Mexico, in different places. Okay? And so I don't want to at all be answering questions around symptoms and what Julie Juice can do, because it's all relative to the environment and what you can handle and what you're prepared for. And also the kind of food that you have access to. So I really can't answer any questions, because you have so many factors that have to all be taken into account, and you have to be prepared for pain and suffering. And many are not prepared for pain and suffering. Okay, so yeah, it's a little crazy. I'm just tripping out right on the world. Oh my God. And so yeah, what I say, do you believe me now, or will you need more deadly evidence? We are in climate change. Okay, and so that product that from Thera Ice. I'm sure they took that from me or anyone else, right? But I'm sure, see, when I was asked by a bunch of college students to go on an interview with them to see what kind of products they could develop to figure out how to do my stuff. And I'm like, the system is watching me. So is the medical system. And I understand, that's fine. I don't need to make a shit ton of money off of these type of things, because that would go through a whole process. And I would rather let the system do it. Fine. That Thera Ice made $1 billion for helping people relieve their stuff, that's fine. Okay? But let me read you what I said in regards to that, because I'm not into therapizing people. I'm not into taking away people's pain and suffering. But the system is fine. We know that with climate change, it's going to bring people's demons. They're going to bring them up their pain and suffering. The system will find ways to make money off of taking away their pain and suffering. So it's all business. And so, hey, whatever. And so the product of thermal cooling head wrap might be good for those with something aggressive. Now I remember when I used the washcloth with the peppermint oil and water and I put it on my forehead. Just a cold wash, put it on my forehead. I mean, it was a little bit of relief, a little bit of distraction, so that way I could sleep. I think that's fucking phenomenal. Okay? That's phenomenal. I mean, you still have to deal with the headache if that's what's in your genetic line, especially releasing. But I remember using washcloths with a little bit of peppermint oil and water, and even though that wasn't super optimal, it gave me a little bit of distraction. You still have to face the pain, though. And I went to sleep. I would sleep my way through all the sickness that I had the last 3 years because that was the only thing that was going to help me. Sleep and pulling out the crap and eating all the food. Okay? And feeling the bloatedness and staying home and staying safe. And now you have a better option now, blacking out your room. Complete dark. Remember when I was feeling such pain, when I was feeling like the mycoplasma a couple years ago when I was crawling up the stairs, and that was when the sun was turned on around July something. And I would go outside to take her outside and the sun would hit, it would hurt my eyes so much. I couldn't even barely stare off into the distance because the sun was so blinding. It hurt. And now as I look back on it, oh, that's right. The sun, the fucking sun. Oh, yes. So now you have you have another tool in your arsenal to help you deal with the release process, the pain process without taking away the pain through the remedies market, but changing your environment, changing your lifestyle so you can handle the immune system activation and potentially get a new lease on life. But you'd have to change a lot of things. And so I went to sleep and I would sleep my way through all the sickness. And I had the last 3 years because that was the only thing that was going to help me. People are very sleep deprived. And if you have a bunch of children, I feel for you. They won't let you sleep. Neither will the older children because they always need something. I literally am an island unto myself in order to save myself. I only answer to my husband and the government, and that's it. If I had to answer to anyone else besides my husband or the government, I would never be able to do what I've been doing. Okay, that's why I had to release so many people that were next to me, so many people that were, that were constantly wanting to get my husband and I out there partying all the time every fucking weekend. That was not going to freaking happen. No fucking way. If my husband wants to go party, fine. But I'm not joining in on the parties. I'm not joining in on all that self-destruction. Fuck no. You can't afford to in this environment. And so which is why those who don't have any kids or anyone else really to answer to, what's stopping you from facing your pain and suffering? Those who have kids and jobs and a whole social circle and network of people, you'll sacrifice yourself for everybody. And they will sacrifice themselves for everybody until everybody's dead. Okay? And it was by your own choice because you always had choices, always, even when you think you don't. And I'm telling you, blackout curtains and a place to go so you can recoup resources. A dark, dark place when no one's flipping the light on you. Maybe it might be something for people who have busy lives. You must set boundaries. If you're working 8 hours a day, fine, do your job, do what you got to do. And then when you get home, black out everything, eat your food, release the demons. And if you have to feel sick, whatever that is. And if that means that you don't have to call in sick the next day, do what you got to do. But if your sickness lasts for more than a couple days and your employer's like, what the hell? And they were like, get a doctor's note. Doctor's going to want to treat you. So you have to figure out how you're going to work that one out. I don't know. And so you have to set boundaries. Women and men don't set boundaries for themselves. They have to be cute and available for everyone. Not all of them, but I made a flat statement. Right now I'm in my optimal environment. 65 degrees in my house. And I've blacked out my room and my office. The bathroom is questionable. I'll just take showers early in the morning and I'll keep the door closed. So I don't really know. I have to find that. It's something where you can, I don't know. I'll have to find something where I can actually, I don't know, because it's all tiled. I'll figure that out. I'll figure it out. Light is what's destroying everybody because it's so flippin' amplified. It's blinding. And on top of that, the storms. The storms are causing high blood pressure and racing heart and exponential growth. Of course, devastation, tornadoes, and hurricanes. Even cloudy days are aggressive. Because remember how the sun, that sun through all that particles in the clouds reflecting either away or to. And if it's warm outside, it's reflecting too. It's causing a convective type of situation. And it's causing immune system activation in people. That's why you got to have a colder temperature in your house. Almost as if you're like a ghost, right? Like the devil, cold day in hell. My husband's like, so my husband, I'm in my optimal temperature, 65 degrees. I've blacked out upstairs for the most part. You can have the downstairs fine. He's like, why do I have to suffer for your menopause? He's such a little shit. I'm like, Jason, you know, this is what the horror movies were telling us. Even the vampire movies, all the different crazy horror movies about ghosts and goblins and things like that. You know, when there's situations going on causing people to heat up and replicate so much proteins, it's causing a rise in temperature. That's like menopause. When women are feeling the heat, like major hot flashes. I'm not getting hot flashes. I just feel the heat and a little bit of sweaty, but not totally sweaty, not like dripping in sweat. But what it is it's the body going through an energy conversion, going through and waking up, and the demons within are replicating, so the menopause is the demons within causing replication, becoming that opposing force that's causing the aging process in women. And now, you can call it menopause, because I haven't got my period since last summer, late last summer, early fall. But now it's just that there's an energy conversion, and it's growth, but it's not like growth working against me. It might be, but my body's able to release the demons. So I'll have a few hives, like on my leg or wherever, maybe once here or one here, but not as bad as it was a couple months ago. But that energy conversion of heat then caused me to poop. So I release the demons, or I sweat. I haven't even had any rashes actually the last couple of days at all under my armpits. I'm just pooping. Some aggressive poop, like my husband, he poops. It's great. And so even cloudy days are aggressive. Sunny days are even more aggressive. Get out of the environment. Stop shaking your fists at clouds, because you should be shaking your fists at the sun right now, because the environment is that amplified and accelerated. You can't stop it. Don't think the sun right now is going to help you. And this environment is going to help you. Chemtrail activists. The chemtrail activists don't even know how deadly the sun is right now. The sun is very deadly. And you should know this because you've been shaking your fist at the skies for years. Get out of the sun and the clouds and the mist and the rain if possible. Especially if you are scheming elderly or dealing with conditions. Some of these chemtrail activists weigh next to nothing. You think they can afford their activism? Well, you can't tell them anything. They think they can stop the lines in the sky. No, honey. The train's left the station. You have absolutely no fucking power. And so, some people are extremely tolerant to extreme conditions, like my husband. They don't have diagnosable conditions. They haven't treated themselves for cancer or disease or chronic illness or went to some treatment. They're not using the latest remedies on the market. They're not addicted to cannabis or anything else. You know, so those who are fighting conditions, you can't afford to be out there. So much like your friends and family who cannot afford to be out there either, but you can't tell your friends and family anything because they won't change. But you know how people are. They can't change for the life of themselves. The sun is not anyone's friend right now. Absolutely fucking not. Big families and the sun is not anyone's friend. Not in this highly amplified, highly accelerated environment. And so I said, protect your eyes. Protect the eyes. And so I'm going to go to Lens Crafters maybe next week and fill my prescription. And also get the sunglasses. Protect the body, mind, and spirit. I can get a senior discount with AARP with the Lens Crafters. Why do people's eyes change? When I asked the doctor, well, why is what's going on with my eyes? He's like, oh, some people's eyes change. Some people at 8 years old, some people at 50 years old, some people at 40 years old. Because the sun and all the reflective light causes retina damage. So imagine what happened on Monday. All that retina damage. And there's no pain receptors behind the eyes. What kind of damage do people do to themselves? And of course, immunological responses, immunological immune system activation. At some point, we must give our body, mind, and spirit a rest. I love my little cave, my office, my room, my bathroom. It's okay to sit in darkness, people. Oh, but you need the sun to live. Yeah, a little bit, but right now it's so amplified, you have to now measure out how much sun really is going to be working for you and against you. Right now it's working against people because they're in deficit. They're starving, they're in deficit. They have issues with staying home and staying safe. They're in resistance. They're in their activism. They have a social life. They have an image to uphold. And so, yeah, I liked the, the Swarovski glasses. It looks like something from, what is it? The 1950s. So I get it for like $100. half off. And then the blackout curtains. My husband's like, I was like, yeah, I told my husband, for 13 something years, 12 years, you had to say in how we decorated this. I let him have full court, whatever. So do what you want with the decorations. But now when it comes to my health and wellness and comfortability, I want curtains in here. I want a curtain in here and in my room, and figure out the bathroom. And then even that one door in where I used to take sugar out, that needs to have a blackout curtain right there. And potentially even in the kitchen, something I can roll up. I'll figure it out. Because that sun goes right through when I'm cooking and washing dishes, and it's aggressive. And I can't stop cooking. But, yeah. If it's up to my husband, he would have the whole house be open and full of glass. And he'd be done. He'd be cooked. He'd be aged like that. If our whole house was glass, he would be like, looking like he'd be 90 years old. And so I said yesterday, tornado watch and warning, severe thunderstorms equals cytokine storms. Cancer, disease, chronic illness, heart attacks and strokes, high blood pressure, weird behaviors, and children, animals, and other humans. Fatigue in children, animals, and other humans. Fatigue and hunger, all sorts of pains, relative to the state of biological existence. So you can only imagine why people are getting all these different growths and diagnosable conditions and pain and migraines and all that, because the environment is amplified. Particle acceleration is causing then people's immune system to activate. And so they get cytokine storms. They get cancer diagnoses. They get all these different things. High blood pressure, low blood pressure, whatever it is. And I felt the tachycardia yesterday, and I had to sleep for at least an hour. And then there was a tornado near the villages, 2 hours away from the villages. Okay? So Florida, I don't know how people still stay in Florida. And so just want to give you guys a heads up. I don't answer any questions about what you should do regarding symptoms and parasites and whatever. You never have an intention to kill anything. You eat to release and you eat to retain, but you never eat to kill. Because whatever you think you're eating to kill, you're going to destroy yourself. And so I said, wow, a lot of heart beating right before this pending storm. That was yesterday. Good thing I don't resist high blood pressure. I just take a nap. Resistance causes breakage. I feed all energy. You know, and Audrey's like, yeah, room to start spinning here. Oh, yeah. That was like me at Walmart a couple weeks ago. Okay? And then when I posted that thing about this was a mass ritual event, and that was an AI image, people wearing glasses and stuff, I said, how many people will get sick from this? Ocular immune system activation. And okay, so I posted that, and then I said 7 people have found this funny, and I don't think retina damage is very funny. So I'm blocking anyone that laughs at any of this information. But yet the same people are recommending remedies for damage from the system. And then they voluntarily damage their own eyes, following the crowd. So there's a guy that recommends copper to people, recommends all these different holistic shit, right? And he's laughing at information about watching the solar eclipse. He was probably one of those that went out there and watched the solar eclipse and basically caused damage to his eyes. And then laugh at this information. Yeah, because you fucked up, dude. And you're speaking out both sides of your mouth. You're saying, oh, yeah, here, the system is damaging us. So here, use this copper to help with you, to help your issues. And then he's laughing at this, and maybe he fucked up by being out there. So block, 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 block. But yet, the same people are recommending remedies for damage from the system, and they voluntarily damage their own eyes, following the crowd. The system gets people worshiping something, even if they don't believe it exists, or believe it exists. No different than being pro-V and then anti-V. It doesn't matter what you do if you don't have discernment. Why even play? Step out of the war and protect yourself. I said before the eclipse that people don't have pain receptors behind their eyes, and they're not just dealing with solar energy. We're dealing with amplified environment. The system tells you in other areas we are in climate change that people are in dispute about. And then the system lures you into watching the solar eclipse with some flimsy glasses that you have no idea how really protective they truly are. That's how the system gets people. That's how the system gets even the conspiracy people. What's the rule of thumb? If I must use that cliche, overused saying idiom, if the masses are doing it, some event that may be questionable in its integrity, that you can't control the conditions, trusting 3D glasses and cameras and whatever, I would probably stay home and stay safe and get out of the environment and get out of the amplified light. Most people in the conspiracy world know how technologically advanced our government is. Hello, You post about how technologically advanced the government is, and yet you're out there looking at the fucking sun and being in the environment like that. Come on. Silent weapons for quiet wars. This is why you must have discernment. And who cares how stupid people may think you look? What's the most Googled phrase after the eclipse? Why do my eyes hurt? Oh, that's not a coincidence. And yes, I pack for tornadoes because you never know. If you're wearing shorts, put sweats over your shorts and wear shoes. Get everything you need down into the basement, into whatever little room you have, and be prepared to protect yourself. I can stand to lose almost everything. Okay? And so I remember the worst of what could happen. You see in Florida and everywhere else. And so I said, if you can invest in light diffusers to those in the J world, even the clouds are conductive. Yep, the sun is amplified aggressively. Yeah, so light diffusers. I mean, the LED lights are like blinding. That's why they changed that, because they want people to damage their eyes. I don't like LEDs, and I see people using LEDs in their cars in the middle of the night. You blind people, purposely blind people. But the system changed that because they want that light to then cause more damage. They say it's sustainability. Potentially it could be. But I still see 60 watt, 40 watt bulbs out there. I don't use LED for nothing. Okay, so yeah, I like the darkness. I've always liked the darkness. I always knew the light was very detrimental. I just couldn't explain it. But yeah, the darkness is going to be your friend because the light is so aggressive right now. If you can't figure it out, fine, good luck to you. But I don't want to hear how, oh God, the V's hurt my eyesight. The V's did this. The V's, nah. You guys have done it to yourselves. I'm giving you the information that you can research yourself. Reflective, reflect towards the earth, reflect away from the earth. And then positive, negative equals an offspring. And so when you have cold and hot equals storms, tornadoes, hurricanes, whatever. Now look at the whole Doppler, the weather and all that stuff. And then you look at all the chemtrail activists talking about whatever they're talking about. It's in plain sight. It's got to open up your eyes. Okay? Open up your ears. Open up your mind. Get off the fucking pot. That's all I'm going to say. Bye.